Okay, so here's what we're painting today. This is our landscape painting. This is a watercolor painting I did in my sketchbook a few weeks ago based on my recent trip to Africa. So this is in Kenya, and it was just a gorgeous sunset with these really dramatic clouds. And it was really fun to paint, and I'm really excited to kind of take you through this painting together. So this sketchbook is an Etcher sketchbook. It's from Etcher. I really like it. And then the paper that I'm using for my watercolor, my paint and sips, is this Fluid 100 100% cotton watercolor paper. This is a watercolor block, which means these pages are bound together with glue on the top and the bottom, and they're free on the sides. So that kind of holds my paper down without me having to tape it down. And then once I'm done, I just detach it from the rest of the pad and you get a new sheet. So I really like this. Again, here's the brand. All of the art supplies that I use are in my Linktree. There's a tab in there called Art Supply Recommendations, and that takes you to my Amazon storefront. So if you're interested in any of the art supplies that I've tried and use, you can check it out there. My watercolor paints are Winsor&Newton professional watercolor paints. You do not have to have professional watercolor paints. That's just what I'm comfortable with and what fits on the screen here. And so whatever watercolor paint you have will work totally fine. I've got my brushes here. I need my paper towels as well. Sorry for the loud car that is outside right now. So my brushes are Princeton Neptune brushes. I really love these as my favorite brand. They last forever, so they're a little bit more expensive, but you will likely never need to buy another set of watercolor brushes. Like, they last so long. So I'll probably use this size 10, this size 4 here. And I've got this detail brush from another TikToker. Her name is Christy Rice, and she's got these really nice watercolor painting brush sets. So this is my detail brush. So these are my brushes that I'm going to use. Again, whatever you have is totally fine. I would recommend a large, medium, and a small, and whatever size you want. I will not tape around my canvas here because, like I said before, this paper is a watercolor block, so it's already bound with glue on the top and the bottom. So I don't really need to tape it down, but you're welcome to tape your paper down if you like. That is more of a personal preference. Okay, so to get started, we are going to first put some water in our watercolor paints. So when you do this, this helps to just start to dissolve the watercolor paints, especially when they're dry. And it just makes it so much easier to work with them later. So I just use my brush and I put a large drop of water in each of my paints. I might not use all of the colors, but I don't know which colors I'm using yet. So I just like to get them all ready, and then we can use the ones that we want later. If you have a spray bottle, you can use a spray bottle as well. I've just always used my brush. Okay, and we're gonna let those dissolve while we do our little pencil sketch. And really all we need to do with our pencil sketch is our horizon line and maybe a mountain range in the background, but I don't really think we need that. So I think we'll just do our horizon line. And the horizon line is about 1/4 of the way up the paper, so it's really, really low. I'm gonna just use a ruler for to make it easy for myself, but it's really low. So just carve off a small section at the bottom for your horizon line. And that's really all the sketch that we're going to do. You don't have to use a ruler. I just happen to have it on my desk. So that's our land there. And then the rest of this is going to be the sky, because the sky and the sunset is kind of the focal point of this painting. So that's what we're focused on for the painting. Okay. As you finish up doing all of that, I will just do my usual kind of spiel for the beginning of this painting. This is just for fun. We're just here for an hour. I will be leading you through this painting, but sometimes I do have to move on before you might be caught up. Usually I will try and give you an option to like leave it and then move on to the step that we're on and come back to it. But sometimes I just have to kind of move on because I try to get you out here in an hour. So if you cannot catch up, or if you kind of fall behind, the live recording will be uploaded to my YouTube channel, which is linked in my bio. And so you can watch it later, you can catch up. And also, please feel free to leave any questions that you have in the comments while we're painting. And just generally be kind to yourself, be kind to others. This is just a practice, this is just for fun. So just trying to enjoy this little painting session with everybody. And be kind to me, be kind in the comments, all of that jazz. Okay? And I will try and answer all my questions, but sometimes I do have to talk and paint at the same time. So if I miss yours, feel free to ask again a couple minutes later and I will try and answer them all, okay? So let's get started with our sky section. So let me just kind of talk you through what we're going to do, because this is going to be quite a few steps at the same time. because we're working in a wet on wet technique. So what we're going to do is put a layer of water down in the entire sky section all the way up until that horizon line that we drew here. Then we're going to put in our background colors here, and then we're going to put in the clouds in the foreground, maybe take away some of the paint here with a dry brushing technique. But all of that has to be done at the same time. And so we're going to mix all of our colors first. We'll get started with that. And then we're going to do all of that at the same time. And so that means I'm going to have a lot of instructions for you in a short amount of time. So try and catch up. I'm going to try and say everything multiple times so that you don't miss anything. And we're just going to do our best. But that's kind of the key of wet on wet techniques, is that you do everything somewhat quickly so that you can get everything done while the paint is still wet. Okay. So let's get started with a couple of colors. Our first color is just going to be yellow. I'm just using the cadmium yellow that is in my palette here. And we want to get some pretty concentrated colors, so don't add a ton of water to the paint as you're getting it ready on your palette. I will swatch all of these for you as well so you can see. So there's our nice bright cadmium yellow. If someone is rude, I'll deal with you, so our clear communicate well. Thank you. All right, our next color I think is going to be alizarin crimson. So this is kind of a cool toned red, which means it's closer to purple than it is to orange. Again, for these colors, just choose whatever is closest in your palette. It doesn't have to be exact. So we don't have to do too much mixing. Okay, so there's our alizarin crimson. And then we're gonna get a sky blue, so I'm gonna use my ultramarine blue here. So these colors shouldn't require too much mixing. You're just taking whatever colors in your palette are closest and putting them in a spot where they're ready to be used. Okay, so there's our blue. So that's kind of the background of our sky here. Next, we are going to make a purple color. And this is going to be the purple, the dark purple that we're going to use for the sky, and we're going to mix a lighter version of it for kind of the horizon line here. So for this, let's start with alizarin crimson and ultramarine blue, same colors that you just used for the red and blue. We'll mix those two together. That should create a purple color. We want this to lean a little bit more blue, so add more blue than red. And we'll start with that, see where that gets us. When you're getting paint out of your palette, it's really helpful to just really dig your brush in there. And yeah, don't be nice to it. That'll help you get more pigment out of your paints. Okay, so that creates a purple color, but you can see here that's like a really bright, saturated purple color. It's like a violet, and I don't want it to be that vibrant. So I'm going to mix a little bit of brown into this color, just a little bit at a time. You could also mix a little bit of orange into this color as well. That will mute it down as well. So just a little bit of orange at a time, and then you should get a much more muted purple color. You can see the difference between those two there. Okay, so I just added a little bit of brown, a little bit of orange until I got a color that I was happy with. Okay. Then what you're going to do is take some of that on your brush, move it to a different spot, and add some water. And this will just give you a watered down version of this color that we can use in other spots. So there's that lighter version. Okay, so that's all the colors. I'm going to give you one more minute to catch up on mixing those while I just check out everything here. Nothing but love and paint, absolutely. Thank you guys. You guys are all so sweet. All right, so you should have your colors ready. So we're gonna go ahead and get started on our painting here. So again, I'm gonna just kind of talk you through what we're gonna do. We're gonna do it, and then I'll give you a little bit of time afterwards to catch up before we move on to our next step, okay? So we're gonna start by putting a layer of water over the entire paper all the way up until our horizon line here. Don't feel like you need to get it exact, just kind of cover the horizon line. Then we're gonna start with our yellow, put that in some small streaks to kind of right here-ish. Then we're gonna go to our red, put that around the yellow. Then we're gonna go to our blue, put that above the red. Then we're gonna start making our clouds with the purple, okay? So I'm going to try and kind of lead you through this as I can, but again, this is going to be a lot of steps, so just do your best, and you can always try this again after the live is over. This is just meant to be some practice, okay? So I'm starting with my big brush, and I'm just getting a good layer of water in the top of the paper here. So I'm just going all the way down to the horizon line. I'm overlapping the horizon line a little bit. It does not need to be an exact line. And I'm tilting my head so I can see if I'm missing any spots. Make sure everything's covered in a good layer of water. If you live in a dry location, you are going to need to add more water. If you live in a humid location, it will stay wet for longer. But if you are in somewhere where it's dry, make sure you're adding plenty of water because it will dry quick. Okay. Now, immediately, I'm just going to go straight into my yellow color and put a horizontal streak of yellow just a little bit above the horizon line here. I'm going to create kind of a wedge shape, a very narrow wedge shape here, okay? Just like this. Then I'm going to switch somewhat quickly to my red color, and I'm going to put that on either side of the yellow. You can see it really spreads out with that water on the paper. That's what we want. That really pretty effect there. Okay. After I've done that, I'm going to switch to my blue. Starting at the top of the page, using my ultramarine blue here, I'm going to start at the top of the page and use horizontal brush strokes to start filling in the rest of the page with blue. And I'm just going to go all the way down to where it meets the red. And that will make kind of a purple color where that meets. That's totally fine. Okay. Now, while this is still wet, you can do a couple things. You can pick up your paper and tilt it in various different directions. And that will help encourage the very soft blending between those two colors. You can also, if you're having some extra paint here, just touch the tip of your paper towel to those spots. Take away that extra paint. And when you're happy with it, just let it sit flat. And we will get started on the clouds. So this is just the background. It does not need to look perfect right now. We're going to cover this in clouds. So it does not need to look perfect right now, okay? Now, I'm going to try and get it to a certain spot where it's not so soaking wet. It's just, but still definitely wet. So it's kind of a hard thing to describe. But one thing we are going to do also is add this watered down purple color down here at the horizon line. And just a couple little horizontal strokes there. Okay. Next, I'm going to switch to a smaller brush, and while this brush is still completely dry, I'm going to pick up a little bit of a highlight in this yellow section, which will look like sun coming through these clouds here. So I'm just using a completely dry brush, drying it off every few seconds, and continuing to tap through this section here. Just looks like really bright, sunny clouds in there. Okay. You can do the same thing up here in the blue section if you want to add some kind of distant, lighter clouds. Okay, and then we're going to go for the focal point of our painting, which is going to be these dark purple clouds, because I've gotten to the point where it's a good level of dry. So I'm just going to start dotting in with a smaller brush this purple color here. And I'm just going to start to create some interesting cloud shapes. Just using dots. So that color should spread out into the rest of your paper. And I'm just going to create my line of clouds kind of right where the red and yellow meet. Right here. And feel free to just make your own outline of clouds here. It does not have to match mine. Just whatever you think kind of looks good. As we get into the bottom here, I'm going to use some horizontal brush strokes to add some little streaks through this section. Those will look like more distant clouds since we're getting closer to the horizon line there. Okay, I'm really liking what's happening there. So again, some streaks with this purple color down here at the bottom, at the horizon line, just to look like some distant clouds. And we can continue just kind of dotting in this purple color, even after you've made the outline of your clouds, just to make some darker spots and add some color variation in here. So I'll just continue to kind of dot it in here. While the paint is still wet, you can continue to work on it. Once it starts to dry, it's kind of time to start just letting it dry. Okay. And one other thing that you can do, if you're getting a lot of bleeding up here, if the clouds are kind of going where you don't want them to go, you can use a dry brush and kind of control the edges of those clouds there. And that will add a little bit of a highlight as well. Okay, I'm really liking how this is looking actually. And you can go back and forth between all of those steps that I just told you. You can continue to kind of add these clouds with the dry brushing technique. As long as the paint's wet, you can continue to work on it. It just, once it's dry, it's kind of dry. And that's why this technique can take a little bit of practice, because sometimes you just don't get all of those details in at once. And that's, again, totally fine. That's why it just takes some practice. Okay, so I think I'm gonna let that dry there. Maybe, actually, she says as she continues to add paint, I could use a really extra blue purple and just drop some of that in here, just to create a little extra detail. Okay, that's enough. Stop. All right. So I'm gonna let that dry. I'm really enjoying like the effect that's happening here, where I get that like red kind of shining through the clouds. I don't know how I did that, or like why that happened. Sometimes with watercolor, it's just a mystery. But I'm really enjoying that, so I'm just gonna let that be. And yeah, so we're gonna let this dry. While you're continuing to work on this step, I'm going to give you a minute or two. I'm just going to do my usual plugs of who I am and what I do that you can listen to or just tune out if you choose to. So I am a full-time artist. My name is Hannah. Hello, if you have not joined me before, it's nice to see you. I am a professional artist, like I said. I've done this since October 2021, and I have such a fun time doing it, and I'm very happy to be a full-time artist. My job requires and relies on people who support me and support my art, which I really, really appreciate, and it just gives me kind of a fun relationship with you guys. So if you'd like to support me in any kind of way, you can click on the link in my bio and you will find many things in that link tree. First of all, right underneath the kind of description of my link tree, you'll find these 5 symbols there. So if you click on the first one, it'll take you to YouTube. If you click on the second one, it'll take you to PayPal. If you'd like to leave me a tip or a gift for today's session, that's the best way to do it. Linktree got rid of the tip jar. If you remember me using that, they unfortunately got rid of that app. So the way that you can leave me a tip now is by using PayPal. So if you click on the little $ link in my link tree, it'll take you there and you can leave me a tip, which is always very helpful. My email is there if you ever need to send me an email, if you want a commission, anything like that. And then I've got my TikTok and Instagram. If you were to scroll down in my link tree, you'll find the link to my book that came out in April of this year, which is called Watercolor Wanderlust. Here it is. It is essentially these paint and sip sessions in a book form. And so if you like these sessions or you want some more landscape tutorials kind of like this has 24 lessons in it, and you can work through them at your own pace. And I'm really proud of this book, and people seem to be really liking it. So it would be great if you would like to support this. It would make a great gift as well. So again, that'll be the first kind of true link in my link tree. The second link that I'll talk about in there is my Etsy shop, and that's where I sell all of my paintings and such. And the newest thing that I just wanted to show you, because I'm just super excited about this, is this print that is based on the painting that is sitting next to me that I have just finished. And this painting took me literal months. Like I started it in January and I just finished it. And so I'm really proud of this painting. If you'd like a print of it, please do check out my Etsy shop. I've also got lots of other paintings and prints and bookmarks and postcards and all of that stuff in there. But I'm especially proud of this print, and I do hope that people will support it and that they like it as well. It's just very much inspired by the ocean, and I feel like people would like it. So make sure to check that out. And the last thing that I'll plug in there is my Patreon. So my Patreon is just a way that you can support me on a monthly basis. And the cheapest tier in there is $3.50. So if you just want to support me for the price of a 2008 cup of coffee, you'll get a free tutorial just like this one in there every month. And nobody else has access to it, just you guys in the Patreon. So, and then there's other tiers in there if you'd like some monthly art that you can sign up for as well. So that's just a way to support me on a monthly basis if you choose to. So whatever way among all of those things that you choose to support me is super appreciated. If you can't do any of those things right now, just following me or liking my videos, following me on YouTube, watching my stuff, commenting, all of that stuff is also super helpful. So I don't want to discount that. And thank you for whatever way you choose to support me. It's very helpful. And you are allowing me to continue to live my actual dream, which is to be a full-time artist. So thank you very much. Okay, I will go through that spiel again later. So if you missed anything, you will hear it again. And thank you all for supporting. I see a couple people bought my book, which is super, I appreciate it so much. Okay. Any other questions? Where do you get your prints made? So I make all of my prints. I have an inkjet photo printer, and I do everything on Photoshop, and I print them out myself and I send them myself. So I'm a one-woman show. I operate all of this. And I used to do a print-on-demand company, but I just wanted more control over my prints. So I do them myself. Would you be willing to do a how I became an artist so others can learn? I'm lost in how. That's a good question. I think I have done a couple of TikToks, but they're probably buried quite deep in the algorithm now. So I will definitely do that again. I'm mostly self-taught. I loved painting from the time that I was a child, and took, the art classes in school that you're offered, but I didn't go to like an art specific school. And when I went to college, I added an art minor so that I could take some classes. But my major was psychology, so I was not at an art school. So I have had some class experience, and that has been super helpful, but I would say I'm self-taught. Like most of my work and most of my learning has come from just practicing on my own. But that's why I wanted to make that book. I've learned a lot from just like YouTube and the internet. And I wanted to kind of give back what I have collected as knowledge in a book form. I'm afraid I went overboard and made it muddy. Oh, that happens. I totally understand. That absolutely does happen. And that's okay. You'll just know for next time. how much to do and when to leave it alone. It's just it's the too much gene, and it gets us all, and you just want to keep fixing it, and it just doesn't, it just gets worse. So I promise I have been there before. Okay, let's see, how did you get the white in the clouds? Yeah, so it's a dry brush technique. So while it was all still wet, I just touched those areas with a really dry brush and then picked up the color in those sections, and then it dries like that. Okay, I'm going to clean off my palette here. We are going to move on to our next step. So you have a minute or two while I clean up this palette, and we will move on. Any other questions before we continue? And thank you all for the likes as well. We're up to 15,000 likes, which is really awesome. Thank you so much. If you haven't already, just double tap the screen. That's how you send a like, and it helps me with the algorithm here. All right, so our next step here is going to be to add the land in the bottom here. So we're going to, back to our reference photo here, we are going to paint in this section of grass here. It's mostly, like, since this is a sunset scene, it's pretty dark. So we're not going to get very much detail or anything down here, just going to be some dark greens. So nothing super complicated here. You'll get a breather after the last step. Cleaning the palette between steps, what a concept, I know. I just do it for you guys. If I'm painting for myself, I don't clean that palette at all. Are your paints toxic at all? No, not unless you like eat a ton of them, which I would hope you wouldn't. No, they're not toxic. Okay, so for our steps down here, we're gonna mix, let's say, 2 greens. They're gonna be a dark and darker green. So for our dark green, I'm gonna start with some sap green, which is my normal kind of base for mixing greens. And then to darken it, instead of adding black, I would recommend adding blue and brown. So if I add ultramarine blue, you'll see that it makes it darker, but still keeps it relatively green. You can see how much darker that makes it. And then if I add brown, it will make it even darker, but it maintains the color. So adding black kind of dulls down the colors that I use, I've found. And so I just prefer to use blue and brown instead to just kind of maintain the saturation of these colors. And actually, just kidding, this is going to be our one color. So just mix that color, make it really dark, not a ton of water mixed in there. Should look like that. This chat is filled with painters, absolutely. How do you keep the paper from crinkling? So there's a few things. One, you don't really. You can see that it's separated from the other pages here. It is warped. You just can't tell from the angle that you're at on the camera. You can see there it's warped too. Taping it down helps. Using a watercolor block helps. And using higher quality paper, like 100% cotton watercolor paper like this, helps a lot too. But there will still be a little bit of warping. So it's just something that you have to accept as a reality, unfortunately. Okay, let's create a color that we can mix into this green after we put it on the palette. So I'm gonna mix together burnt sienna and brown. Burnt sienna is kind of an orangey, like a rust color. And we're just gonna mix that with some brown to create a really warm brown here. And we're gonna do something fun with that. What brown are you using? Could I use ultramarine mixed with cad red to get a brown? Absolutely, yeah. So this is Van Dyke brown. It doesn't matter what brown you're using to add to the green. And yes, you could create your own brown and then add it to the green. Absolutely. Okay, so what we're gonna do, use a large brush again and just fill in with a flat wash the section below the horizon line. So I'll zoom you in a little bit here so that you can see what I'm doing. So my pencil mark, hopefully you can see, is just kind of right here. And I'm just going to somewhat carefully create a horizon line here. We might end up doing 2 coats on this bottom section here just to get the hue that we want. we're definitely going to do 2 coats. So just fill in this bottom section with a flat wash, and that's all we're doing for now. Do you offer recorded versions of these? I always miss them. Yes, I do. I always post them to my YouTube. This one will be posted later today. As soon as I can download it from TikTok and upload it to YouTube, it'll be up there. My YouTube channel is linked in my bio. If you click on the link, right below kind of the description of the link tree is the YouTube symbol. It's the first symbol on the right in the collection of 5. And it'll take you right to my channel. It's also Hannah Art and Prints on YouTube, so you can just search me there if you can't figure out the link tree. And all the previous paint zips are up there too, so if you want to catch up on one that we've done previously, you can do that there. Okay, now, so I've ended up with kind of a weird texture on this cloud here, and so I think I might use that as a demonstration for like how you might fix something like that. You can see so what happened was a drop of water from my brush kind of ended up there, and I didn't want it there. So I got this kind of light colored bloom, which is fine. I could leave that there and it's totally fine. It's like relatively cloud textured. So it's not like a bad thing, but I do just want to use that as like a demonstration. So if you want to fix something like this, generally it's not going to like go back to the color or the texture of like what's behind it, so you have to turn it into something else. So I'm just going to turn it into a slightly darker cloud kind of in front of the bigger one. So I'm going to mix the color that we had before. Again, you don't have to follow what I'm doing. I'm just kind of demonstrating what you could do in this scenario as you finish up that flat wash on the bottom. So this is the color that we had before, that cloud color, and I'm going to go over this and create kind of a cloud texture. Go over the worst part of this that I want to cover up. And then I'm going to clean off my brush and use a damp, clean brush to blend out the edges of this cloud a little bit. So I think that looks better than the bloom, personally. And then you can also, if you want to just kind of blend it in better, do that a couple times. So maybe I'll do that again over here and just add like a slightly darker area to this cloud here. And again, just blend out the bottom edge of that with a clean, damp brush. Over here. And as it dries as well, it'll kind of blend in. You could lift it out also, no? So it's already too light, and that's kind of the problem. So if I had an area that was too dark, absolutely, you can lift and kind of remove that. But because it was a bloom and it was too light already, I don't think lifting would help. I'd probably rather just kind of paint over it and add some sort of element that disguises it a little bit. You can do this in a couple layers as well if you choose to. So these are some options. Just don't fall into the trap of like trying to fix everything. Sometimes you can kind of use this as a crutch to fix, try and quote unquote fix all of the stuff that you think is wrong with your painting, and you don't want to do that. You just want to pick like an actual true mistake and maybe do that to this. I don't know. That's what I would recommend. And generally, if you're kind of falling into like overworking territory, it's when you are saying, oh, I'm gonna fix it. When you're painting something, you have certain, at least I do, I have certain steps in my head of like, okay, I need to do this, 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 and then that section will be done. And so as long as I'm like doing those steps, that's fine. But if I'm done with those steps and then I'm getting into like, oh, but let me just go back and like fix this part that didn't turn out how I wanted it to, that's when you start to get into overworking territory, is like the I can fix it territory, and that's not good. So if you feel yourself getting in there, back away from the painting and just reassess whether you really need to be fixing it. That's my advice for overworking. Okay, so let's start now with our next little step here. We've just got like 2 more. So we are cruising through this. We're going to create this little mountain range in the background here. So this is the first live I've found. Perfect, welcome. Thank you so much for doing the YouTube videos. So mix together some ultramarine blue and a little bit of brown until you come up with kind of a cool gray color. Something like this. Back away from the painting. That's what I have to tell myself. Stop messing with it. Okay, so when you have that color, I'll zoom this back in here. So the mountain range, I think I've talked about this before. I love a good mountain range. And it doesn't matter if your reference photo has a mountain range or not, you can still put one in. Because it kind of disguises this seam between the sky and the land. It adds something in the mid-distance there that is interesting, and it just helps to like allow the painting to flow together from top to bottom. So I love adding a mountain range. You can do distant lines of trees as well. It has the same effect. So with a smaller brush, I'm just going to create kind of a gentle sloping mountain range back here. Nothing like sharp peaks or anything like that. And then just bring this color down to the horizon line to meet up with the green section here. And we're just going to fill this in with a flat wash. Just keep it it's pretty low. We want the sky to be still taking up most of this painting. So this mountain range shouldn't be too high. We're just going to create kind of a hillscape in the background. And as we're doing this, I will just do my usual plugs one more time. Well, you're going to hear it one more time at the end, but this is the last time you'll hear it during the painting. Again, if you'd like to support me, that is always super, super helpful. I am a full-time artist, and I rely on people supporting my art in order to pay my rent. So if you'd like to support me, go ahead and click on the link tree in my bio, and that will take you to several options. The first several options will be available right below kind of the description in the link tree. There are 5 symbols there. They look like this. The first one here is the YouTube symbol. It'll take you to my YouTube channel. So if you'd like to just follow along with these with these paint and sips and check out the ones that are recorded and uploaded there, you can check out my YouTube channel. That'll take you straight there. Subscribe, please. Watch my videos, all that good stuff. And yeah, you don't have to like go through the trouble of searching for my name. The second symbol is the $ symbol. If you'd like to leave me a tip or a gift for today's session, that is always super, super appreciated. These lives are free, but I do super appreciate tips if you choose to give them to me. So that $ symbol will take you to PayPal, and it'll give you an easy way to send me a tip. Whatever amount you like. Usually it's between $5 and $10, but like whatever amount you like is perfectly fine. If you'd like to send me an email, you can do that. TikTok and Instagram are the last 3 symbols there. You can also scroll down in that link tree, and the first tab there will take you to my book order site, and there will be several options for you in order to order that book if you'd like to. Again, it is my watercolor instructional book called Watercolor Wanderlust, and it's basically these paint and sip sessions in a book form. So if you'd like to check that out, please do. That would be super appreciated. The next one down will be my Etsy shop, so if you'd like to check out the art that I sell, that would be super appreciated as well. That's what I put a lot of my work into, and I'm very, very proud of the work that's on there, especially, I'll just show it to you again, this print that I just made based on the painting that's sitting next to me here. This took me months, and I'm just super proud of it. So if you'd like a copy of this print, please just check out my Etsy shop. There's also lots of other stuff in there. And finally, if you'd like to support me on a monthly basis, you can do so at Patreon. There are several different tiers in there that have several different benefits to you per month, and it's just a great way to support me if you choose to do that. So thank you for the support. If you can't do so monetarily yet, just following me, liking my videos, commenting, watch it, just like putting my YouTube videos on in the background so I get watch hours. All of that stuff is super, super helpful. So I appreciate any way that you choose to support me. And you guys are the best if you've already supported me. Okay, back to the painting. We're going to do one more step here, which is going to be to redo the land here. Because we want the sky to kind of be the main focal section, and this is the lightest part of the sky here. We want the below it to be contrasted and much darker. So we're going to do a second layer on this grass section in order to get that contrast. Yes, this live will be posted on YouTube later today. Again, my YouTube channel is linked in my bio. It's the little YouTube symbol when you first get into my link tree. Okay, so I'm just going to remix some of that green that we were using before. Exact same color recipe, the green, ultramarine blue, and some brown to darken it up. Running out of blue here. I'm going to have to refill this pan pretty soon. What kind of paper do you use? So this paper is called Fluid 100. That's the brand. But I use lots of different paper. Arches is great. Etcher's got some great sketchbooks. All of my art supply recommendations are in my link tree as well in my Amazon storefront. So if you'd like to get my recommendations, you can check that out too. That's a great way to support me as well if you're going to buy some art supplies already. Okay, and we're also going to reactivate this brown color that we mixed that we'd never used to this. So again, this one was burnt sienna and brown mixed together. Really get in there. Okay, so again, we're just going to go back to our painting here and do a flat wash with this green, and you'll see how much darker we can get this section just with this second layer of paint. So I'm just going to be somewhat careful on the horizon line, but everything else we're just going to fill in with green. Oh, also, if anybody wants to stick around after the live, I have a couple of paintings that I want some opinions on because I'm trying something new, and I'm just kind of become a little like rat in my nest here in my studio, and I just want some outside opinions on something that I've been working on. So if you'd like to stick around, I'll use my little focus group, and I would appreciate opinions. That'll be completely after the live is over, or after the lesson is over here. Okay, so then once I've got that flat wash in there, I'm just going to go in with that brown color and just add some horizontal streaks in here. And this will just add a little bit of interest and a little extra color to this section here. Don't overdo this, just add a few and then leave it. Let her dry. How do you clean the paint you used in the above tin? So just to clean my palette, I just use a brush, I put some water on it, and I reactivate these colors. Scrub them until they're all watery again, and then I just use a paper towel and wipe it up. If I happen to get some darker color in my lighter watercolor paints, which I did with that orange there because I'm just not very careful about it, I just use a damp brush and I just scrub it in there until that paint is gone, and then you can clean that off. So that's why I don't really worry about getting paint in other containers, because it's really easy to clean. I oil paint landscapes, but I've always been really fascinated by watercolors. This amazing work. Thank you so much. You're so sweet. I also do oil paintings as well. The landscape, or just the dichotomy between watercolor and oil paint is crazy. I can't really do them on the same day because it just is such a different way of thinking about painting. Okay, so I think this is pretty much good for this painting. So as you finish up that section down there, I will just do my last little announcements here. First of all, this painting will be available for sale on my Instagram story. So my Instagram handle is the same as TikTok, and I usually post these paint and sip lessons, the paintings, for sale on my Instagram story. So it's available for 24 hours. It is cheaper there than it will be when I upload it to Etsy in a few weeks, just because Etsy does take some commission sales on the stuff that I sell. So it'll be up there for $40 if you'd like this painting. It's 6x8, it's a watercolor painting. That's a great way to have an original painting and not have it cost too much. So if you're interested, just go check out my Instagram story in like 20 minutes and it'll be up there. Whoever DMs me first will get it, and I will send it to you. That is only for US people, unfortunately, because the shipping to other countries is too much. So if you live in the US and you'd like this painting for $40, check out my Instagram story after the live is over. Also on Instagram, I like to post everybody's paintings. So if you painted along with me and you feel comfortable posting your painting in public, just tag me and I will repost everything on my story. And that way we can kind of have a little art gallery with everybody who participated. So feel free to tag me. If you don't feel comfortable putting your painting in in public, feel free to just DM me on Instagram. Again, same handle as TikTok, and I would love to see your paintings. And I will not share them unless you tag me publicly. Okay, I'm gonna add glitter in my sky and no one can stop me. Amen, brother. I love adding glitter to stuff. And thank you all for joining me. So once again, just check out the link in my bio if you'd like to support me. Again, YouTube channel will be in that symbol on the very left. PayPal, if you'd like to leave me a tip or a gift, second to the left in this $ symbol. Always super appreciated if you leave me a tip or a gift. Check out my book website, my Etsy shop, my Patreon, art supply recommendations, that palette that I made with Artistro that I really like, all of that stuff. Thank you for supporting me in whatever way you choose. And I can't wait to see your paintings if you post them on Instagram. So let's go ahead and separate this painting from the watercolor block here. So I just use a palette knife. You could use a butter knife if you don't have a palette knife. And I just slide it in between the paper and the next sheet and just get that glue off of there. And then this does leave me with like a little bit of glue on the page. So I just use an X-Acto knife and a ruler and take that off after we're done. And there we go. So there's that. And then we have a nice clean piece of paper to work on next. I do miss seeing the tape removal. Honestly, me too. The tape removal is very satisfying. Just did the PayPal thing. I missed the tip jar. Boy, me too. I don't know why they took it away. I was super mad. So now this is just the best way. But if you want to write me an angry email to Linktree, that would be great. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and sign this painting in gouache on the corner when it's all dry. So I'll do that after the live is over. And I just want to say thank you all for joining me, and I hope you enjoyed this painting. I hope you enjoyed painting along with me. I hope you'll join me next week. I usually do these lives every other weekend, Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern time, this exact time, almost always, just every other weekend now. Sometimes it's different, so if you just check out my TikTok or Instagram story on Thursdays, you'll know for the Saturday if there is a paint and sip or not. And again, if you'd like to stick around, I have a little bit of focus group work for anybody who wants to stick around and just check out a painting that I've made recently and just let me know what you think. But otherwise, thank you all for joining me, and I will see you in the next one.